So the Nissan GT-R to me has always been in a category of its own. If you were to only hear the name Nissan GT-R and look at the spec sheet and performance numbers, you'd have an image of a supercar, maybe even a mid-engine low two-door coupe with massive side intakes. But to me, the GT-R is actually a pretty conservative design when you look at it. You wouldn't know what it's capable of just by looking at the design.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From website and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business.
The proportions are more those of a regular sports coupe than a supercar, and to me that's what makes the GT-R special. However, it's been around in this form since 2008, and that's not including the concept that was introduced all the way back in 2005. So it's time for a redesign, and that's exactly what we're gonna do in this video. I'm also going to show you the design of the GT-R 50 and compare the concept to the production version to see what changed. I'm going to redesign the current GT-R, taking inspiration from this GT-R 50, but make it more kind of production friendly, because even though I love a great conceptual production version of a car, when it goes from concept to production that it looks almost the same, it's not going to work for this in this case right here, because the GT-R 50 has a price tag of $1.2 million. So we need to bring the productivity or production friendliness of that design down a little bit to a more reasonable pricing. Nissan says that the tall design GT-R 50 certainly isn't the next Nissan GT-R, but you'd have to wonder, given the company's history over the past years, Nissan GT-R concepts haven't been too far off from the production car that followed, and that goes specifically for the 2005 concept. If you look at that concept and compare it to the production version that came out 3 years later in 2008, it's essentially the exactly the same car, and the same goes for the GT-R 50 here, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So it's not impossible, it's not unreasonable to think that the GT-R 50 will follow this trend and be kind of a preview of what the next GT-R is going to look like. And as I said, that's what I kind of want to take inspiration from the GT-R 50 and apply it on to the GT-R. Under the hood of the GT-R 50, it's powered by a hand-built version of the company's 3.8 liter twin-turbo V6, which has been tuned by Nismo to deliver 710 horsepower and 575 pound-feet of torque, which is a substantial increase from the GT-R's Nismo 600 horsepower and 481 pound-feet of torque. Let's talk about the design here of the GT-R 50. I want to show you the concept and then the production version and what kind of changed here. So let's start with the rear view here. I wasn't really a fan of this design right here. This is, to me, it looked like it's a melted cheese rear end in combination with a super sharp and aggressive everything else on the car. So it didn't really fit for me, the rear end. I've made redesigns on these before, both the front and the rear here on the channel. I think that was close to 2 years ago now, where I kind of sharpen up everything in the rear, make it look more in line with the rest of the car. But going into production, I think they did a good job of turning this concept into production. And you can see that the rear diffuser here is the big change that we have right here from the concept going into production. And I think this looks really cool actually. And if I were to buy this for $1.2 million, the spec that I would have is I would definitely go with all black, because that seems to work the best. I'm not a huge fan of the two-tone when you have a different color on just the rear end of the car compared to the rest of the car. So what I would do is just pick it all black GT-R 50, and I think it looks fantastic in that spec. Quickly, just want to show you the front view here as well, going from concept down to the production version right here. And as you can see, there's not a lot of changes here in the front end, a lot less changes than we have in the rear end of the car. It's almost basically the same design, but what I didn't like about the concept here is this big mouth here. It's so thick, and they made it stand out even more by making it two-tone. This is another thing I changed in my redesign, which you can go and check out the full video if you want to here on the channel. But look at this in all black. I think it looks fantastic, and this is definitely a face that looks like it could be the next GT-R. And we're gonna take a lot of inspiration specifically from this treatment right here of the headlights and apply that onto today's package of the Nissan GT-R and see how that turns out.
But before we do that, I want to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. One of the great features of Squarespace is the drag and drop portfolio builder. It's super easy to customize and design with templates templates already optimized to be viewed on any device. You can even add password protected pages to share private work with clients. Having trouble coming up with a unique logo? Let the built-in logo builder do the work for you. Just type in your business name and you'll have a beautiful logo in no time. If you're selling your art and designs online, use the Squarespace commerce platform to sell directly to your customers online with customizable e-commerce templates. You can even create your own membership site now, which I wish was around when I was building my site. This makes it so much easier to manage your online classes and courses. Start with your free trial today at squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, head over to squarespace.com/TheSketchMonkey to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code TheSketchMonkey.
We'll have a look at the current Nissan GT-R right here. It's still a very cool design and it still looks very modern when it comes to the proportions, but not in the graphics. It doesn't matter how many facelifts, just like a human being, it doesn't matter after a certain time how many facelifts you make, you're still gonna be able to tell the age of a car and a face, a human face, and that's the case here for the Nissan GT-R as well. All these lines here, for example, these are very modern. This could be a modern looking car, but the problem turns into the headlights right here and the graphics and these parts right here. That's what makes the Nissan GT-R look dated. I love the shape of this. It's not a beautiful car. You can't really call this a beautiful design, at least not in my opinion. There is not a lot of line flow, and you have these weird angles here on the rooftop right here. You have this little edge there or corner that just dips and it kind of looks like a broken neck in a way if you look at it from a side view. You have a sharp shoulder line for sure, which is this one right here. But what I want to do in the redesign here is to make the rear fender here a little bit beefier than it is right here, like we have here in the front. The front fender is super aggressive, but it's totally lacking here in the rear end, and I want to add that to have some of the power visually be brought from this big fender in the front and have that transferred over to this rear part of the car as well, and over the rear tire like we have over the front. And on top of that, I think I'm gonna make the whole body carbon fiber, so I'm gonna apply some carbon fiber textures onto this body. But the major changes, of course, is going to happen right here in the front. So what I want to do, take inspiration from the concept right here, or the production version, I mean, of the GT-R 50 right here. And what you can see that we have a clear-cut line here that goes into the graphics of the front face, and that's exactly what I want to do here as well. Have some sort of graphic like this. Within this graphic, you have all the features that makes up a front face of the car. For example, the lights is gonna sit right here, maybe a little lower, not so far up on the fender like we have here. And I also want to replace this fog light or whatever that is, position light, and have it be an LED that goes straight up like this. Just a simple design, and also work a little bit on this piece right here, the bumper, have it be more organic, maybe dip down a little bit like this at the far ends, just to have a little more of some smooth lines and some organic features in the front end, and not have it be mid 2000 designs like we have here. I don't know what number of facelift this specific version is, but it's been facelifted a lot of times, and what really gives it away the age is specifically the headlights right here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to turn out. With that said, let's continue here and let's see how a new 2022 Nissan GT-R based on the GT-R 50 could look like. So the Nissan GT-R is, as I said, it's a very special car to me because it doesn't look like it has the performance that it actually has. It has the performance of a supercar, but you can buy it for a lot less, and it doesn't you can still have it be very anonymous if you want to, or you can make it stand out like crazy, which a lot of people do as well. But I've always been a fan of the GT-R just because of that. It's a performance car that is kind of wrapped in this more normal design, even though when you look at it in real life, you realize how wide it is and just how beefy the front fenders are, and you know that this is not just a regular Nissan. There's something special about this car, and that is something that people that are not even really into cars realize when they see this car out on the streets. So what I wanted to do is keep that traditional, that's now become traditional over since 2008 up until today, the silhouette of the GT-R. I think the GT-R has a really great silhouette, and it works well because you have a decent interior space in these cars because of that little broken roof line that we have. I want to keep the overall proportions and work a lot on the graphics of this car. As I said, taking inspiration from the R50, I think they will apply well to this front end. We need to have a little more of an organic front end. Looking looking at Nissans today, they're very chiseled, they're very structured in the front end, but I kind of want to do something different here. And also on top of that, as I said, add some sort of rear fender, increase in width, or have some more of a defined rear fender. It's not gonna be very typical for a GT-R to have this. The GT-R 50 has something similar, and not maybe like this, but it does have more of a defined beefy muscle rear shoulder that's lacking on the regular GT-R. And I think that will go well, specifically when we have the already massive front fender right here, and which is super muscular, and that goes down in the door and then down to the side. I want to continue that line, almost have it be like an integrated wide body kit onto this car. Even though Nissan said that the GT-R 50 is not gonna be anywhere near what the next generation GT-R is going to look like, I think they're kind of playing us there, because if, as I said in the beginning, if we look at the history of the GT-R, specifically going from concept to production, the concept that the Nissan says usually are not really anything to do with the next GT-R. Usually what happens is they take a lot of inspiration from that concept and then all of a sudden that turns into the production version that we're actually seeing out on the streets eventually. And I think that's kind of the case here as well. The GT-R 50, nobody's expected to pay $1.2 million for the next regular Nissan GT-R. So I think they're gonna take a lot of inspiration from the GT-R 50, but as I'm doing right here, just turn it into a more production friendly version to keep the prices down, but still make it a very modern looking car that is inspired heavily by the GT-R 50 by Ital design. Last but not least, on this redesign, I'm going to add a little bit of a carbon fiber texture to this body. I think it suits this. Specifically, if we have a glossy gray carbon fiber finish, that would look really cool on a brand new GT-R. So that's what I want to do here as a final touch. In the before and after, you're gonna see that.
And that's it for today's redesign. Make sure you go to squarespace.com/TheSketchMonkey to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain or website. Whatever website you're building, Squarespace will help you out. Check out the link down in the description. I'm TheSketchMonkey, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.